Okay, so this is Conduition. This is Rav Shiva, and I wanted to do, like I told you, these videos that I'm making now are going to be geared towards the things I see and kind of analyze on a much deeper level. I think it's kind of almost spiritual at times, but we're going to be looking at what is it called again? A nightmare. Hold on. So we're going to be looking at Nightmare as a Child. This is one of the stories from Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. Rod Serling, who I look up to as more than just a creative writer, but more of, I want to say, a seer, somebody who can see into the future. And we're going to get into that in some of his other videos too. I believe that he was very highly endowed with wisdom and also foresight. I really appreciate his in-depth, detailed descriptions of anything he spoke about. If you watch some of his interviews, you'll see that this guy really was not just educated, but experienced, and a lot of wisdom when he spoke. And he really, really thought deeply about things, and I can respect that. It's part of what I do here at Conduition, but I kind of blend more of the spiritual stuff. I believe that his stuff is also spiritual in many ways. Like this Nightmare as a child, I've seen it many times, but for some reason today, I kind of saw it with a different light, a different lens, if you want to say so. And, the whole fact that this woman goes back to her old home after 20 years or close to 20 years, and some trauma that she had was buried deep within her subconscious somewhere. And I can relate with that. I think everyone can relate with something similar to that in some way or another. And the child being her when she was a much younger person that's inexperienced, but turns out to be very wise. And it was just a beautiful thing to see the part of her that was kind of like forcing her in a way, or coercing her in a way to try and remember what had happened at that time. And it was like the child crying out to her in some sense. But it was really fascinating. The simple fact that you have to think that when it was written, and I thought about this, I was looking at it and I said, what an interesting concept. They, I want to say reanimated, probably maybe a better word, but that's how the word that I just used. They reanimated because it, was part of this show. The idea, or her as a child that experienced the trauma, and she had this blank spot where she couldn't remember, but the child in her, in the subconscious, buried deeply, was used to kind of emphasize that idea. And when you look at that, it's pretty damn deep, I don't think that we all take enough time to really think about how our memories work, what triggers them. Because all these things are neurochemical synaptic, impulses in the brain. They create certain chemicals, all these synaptic impulses. They trigger neurochemical responses in the brain, and that creates, whatever it creates, happiness, sadness, whatever emotion. Sometimes you get a dopamine effect, and that's a great feeling, or whatever the case may be. And I believe a lot of the time that those also can be intertwined and fused in the wrong ways. Or who knows if they're wrong or right. I'm not one to judge, right? Because we don't know. Everybody has their own preferences, and that's probably one of the ways they're created. Life is such a weird imbalance of things. It's such a flux, and a flux means that it's just consistently changing. It's in a state of consistent change. It's in a flux state. So I always feel like life itself is like that. So it brings up the idea of karma. How does karma work? I don't believe karma is what a lot of people misinterpret the idea of cause and effect. They would, in their minds, have this idea that it's a linear process. Linear meaning that it starts from one end and continues traveling in one direction, okay? That's linear. This is non-linear. This goes in and out of time, past, present, and future. That's what I believe karma is. And it's some amalgamation of everything that we've thought, everything that we've done, said, whatever, how we affected people is really what it comes down to. And I believe it's something to that nature of how that energy goes out into the universe, or whatever you want to call it, the matrix. And somehow it creates the future. That's what I believe. the karma that we create helps create our future. And in more than one way, I'm sure people have said something similar, probably never like that before, but I like to break things down in conduition here. That's why I created this, because I'm going to bring this up for a reason. There's been a lot of people that are famous that have used my words, and one of them tried to pay me off like a few $1,000s. The other one just, took it and ran. But, we live in a world today. The reason I'm saying this is that imagine during the times of Christ. So imagine him living in a world where people use his words but never gave him credit for it. Would you have ever heard about him today? Think about it. That's how important this is. Do you understand? That's why I'm saying this. A lot of people bypass that idea, but if you have any kind of sense of a brain whatsoever, you'll understand how deep that actually is. The essence of who a person is what they express. And imagine if that gets lost in translation somewhere intentionally, because other people want to take credit for it. I believe that great people like Christ and others, and many other great people, were treated unjust because other people were just jealous of them. It's human nature. You see whoever it is, a man or a woman, whoever, receiving so much love and care from so many people that you're going to try and take them down by every little fault that they make. What does that make you? What type of person are you if you do that? And you have to think to yourself, no matter how bad you are or whatever you did in your past or whatever the case may be, if you don't do that to people, if you don't, in other words, let me explain to you in a much deeper way. If you don't impede a person's process of redeeming themselves, atoning for their sins, if you don't do that, then you're not a bad person. To me, a really bad person is getting in the way of that process of any human being, because we're all passing through here in this limited reality that we have, this limited illusion, and we only have a certain amount of time here. Why would you spend your time impeding another person's process? Think about that. It's kind of a very sinister and evil thing to do, and some people would want to give moral reasons for their actions, but there is no moral stance that would allow you to stop a person from salvation. Only God can actually do that. But the simple fact that people try those things here on earth in this realm, it tells you what, the type of place we live in. Well, the whole story of Christ himself, I'm not Christian, but I am spiritual, but the whole story of Christ is another great example of a human being when he was in flesh, in the form of flesh, that lived, spoke from his heart, gained a huge, massive following of people, and then people were jealous of him. That story is, I want to say, infinitely timeless. It's interesting. Did I just repeat myself there? Infinitely timeless, kind of, but you get the picture what I'm painting here, and basically what it comes down to is, like I said, if no one gave Christ credit for his words, you would not know who this person was. He would not be revered so highly. And I think a lot of people, and you have so many, I believe that there are a lot of people out there, probably not as many as everybody else, that but there are people with elevated consciousness out there. But in the world we live in today, they won't get heard, because we live in a very dangerous society now where things have changed and got so devalued. It's just amazing. I don't want to get too far deep into that because I don't want to go off topic, but the more I watch this Nightmare as a Child, right, with Rod Serling, the more I look at it, it just puzzles me and fascinates me how deep Rod Serling's mind had to be to probe these depths of the mind, these recesses, and to find this story. I'm sure he probably had a personal experience as well to be able to get that deeply explicit with it. It's extremely impressive and on many, many levels. I everything that he has done, I've been very blown away with it in some way, because I like to watch them over and over, a lot of his episodes from all seasons, and a few favorites that really stand out to me. One of them I'm going to do is The Real Martian Stand-Up. That's one of my all-time faves, if not the all-time fave. There's a specific reason behind it. It just has this thing. I'm going to do another video on specifically that episode. But there's that, and there's also, I have something really cool to talk about with Rod Serling's gift of foresight. If you guys don't know his story, when he was writing for television, he had problems with a lot of the producers because they kept wanting him to do more commercialized versions of what he had, and he said he wanted to, as an artist, wanted to leave it just the way it is without adding the commercial element to it, because it would kind of degrade from what the original idea was in the first place. It's like somebody taking the Mona Lisa and saying, okay, we're going to put Coca-Cola right next to her face. And I can understand what he means by that. That, to me, that would devalue the idea of what the Mona Lisa painting is. If you saw, a Coke can next to her face or something, and a pack of cigarettes, or whatever they want to, sell. And he was very much against the idea of kind of tainting his work in some way, just for the fact that he would get a lot more money. And he was very righteous in his stance against the corporate executives and producers that wanted him to do that. So he had problems a lot with a lot of these large companies, production companies, and producers, and all these people. And he ended up doing his own thing, and that was the Twilight Zone. And he said he still didn't get to do it exactly the way he wanted in certain parts, because they kept trying to manipulate what he was doing. I wish that he would have stayed alive long enough to where we could have actually heard him speak in person, especially with today's world, how things are set up. Maybe they'll create an AI with the Rod Serling's memories. I don't know, who knows? Or use all his work, put it together, and you get to speak to him. That would be badass if they do that. Sorry about the expletive there. I just got excited because I thought about what a great idea if they're going to make an AI make it of Rod Serling. But then again, that would be kind of weird too. I don't think it's something he would condone. But guys, I just wanted to make this video to put it out there for you guys, to show you how deep I go at some of this stuff with Conduition. And if you have any comments, please leave those comments there. I will look at them and answer them if you ask me any questions or anything, and if you have any episodes you want me to look at, just definitely go ahead and leave the name of it, or anything else. It's not just about the Twilight Zone, it's about anything that sparks your mind into the Twilight Zone, where things are kind of out of place. I think we all get that feeling here on Earth, because we're not sure why we're here, none of us exactly. But guys, I'll leave you with that mystery of the universe there, and I will see you in the next video. If you really like what I do, please hit that like, share, and subscribe so I can afford the mansion that I'm trying. I'm just kidding, guys. No, it'll help me pay my bills, literally. I don't do anything else at this point. I'm kind of bedridden at home for a bit from neck surgery, and still trying to get over it. But that's my sob story, guys. And I may put some violins in the background when I say that. I'm just kidding, guys. But no, that's the truth, So this is the kind of situation I'm in. So that little like, that little subscribe will help me a great deal. And you hit that notification bell as well. And trust me, as soon as I'm able to ask for money, I'll be asking you for that. I won't even care about the like button, okay? I'm just kidding, guys. I'm being a jerk. But guys, I'll see you in the next video. Like I said, hit me up on there and I will answer you back. This is Rav Shiva from Conduition. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great holiday weekend and stay safe.